Welcome, everybody. Look what we got in the studio today. Hey, Gary. And we got Gene Hudson. And we got Prospecting USA. Linda Wood. Hello there. Nice to see you, Linda. Let's see who else is starting to stack in.
Yeah.
So everybody have a good, happy Thanksgiving. Hey, Debbie.
Yeah. Yeah. How about you, ladies?
It was good.
I got a funny feeling that we're going to see something tonight behind somebody during the show. I don't know why.
I hope it's not me. I hope it's one of our guests. No offense.
So how's the activity with you all?
How about you, Jen?
Jen's.
It's been consistent. It usually stays pretty consistent around here. Like we might get it quiet for a day or two, but it doesn't stay quiet for long. You know, like 3 days ago, they were pounding on the walls and tapping on the windows all night. And then last night they were moderately quiet, but the night before that, it was pretty busy. So,
wow.
For anybody I think everybody knows who you ladies are. You're like our famous little star. People have been asking. I hope Standing Stones gets in here because he's been wanting to see Jen for months.
I miss Jen. I've been so busy. I missed her.
Robin will let you go first because we lost Jen again. She'll be back.
Well, I miss Jen because I've been really busy, so I haven't been able to spend a lot of time with her like I normally do. So her and we have a lot of fun together. She's like the best. I love Jen.
She is. So what have you been up to? And just tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
A little bit about me?
Yeah.
Not as interesting as you might think. No, I just have always been around the cryptids and the ETs and just spent a lifetime with them and things that they've taught me. And I've tried to share with other people. And so wherever I land is where they seem to pile up at.
It's incredible.
And she's incredibly gifted. You have a new, like a service you always are so helpful.
I do.
People. Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. I just recently opened a website. There's Jen. Yay! About a month and a half ago. And I've been doing this for over 40 years as far as I do, the psychic readings. I teach energy work. I work with people on the cryptids. I do a variety of services. And so I went ahead after I'd been poked and prodded by friends of mine for a long time and opened it up on a website. It's called paranormal-empowerment.com. And it'll show some of the services on there. If there's anything you need that's not on there, just send in the little contact form. And if I can't do it, I'll hook you up with somebody that can. But yeah, it's going really well. People seem to really enjoy it. I'm pleased. I'm really surprised, but I'm pleased.
I bet you're doing fantastic. I mean, it's something that's very needed. I think, people don't know where to turn.
I think it's been helpful, especially for people that are like ET abductees and deal with UFOs and stuff, because I've spent a lifetime dealing with them, as I'm sure Jen has as well. But
yes.
So it's kind of nice because when I went through all my abductions and various things with them, I didn't really have anybody to go to. So it's nice to be a sounding board for somebody, that is going to listen to them and say, you know what, I don't think you're crazy because this stuff happens every day. The world we saw out there never existed. I say that every show I'm on. The world we've seen our whole life was never the world to begin with. It was just all a fallacy. None of it was true. And so now the reality is here and it's walking around us. And so it's kind of good to get the information out. That's why Jen and I do so good when we tag team things, because we both are on the same page. We've had so many similar encounters. And so it makes it really nice because we can back each other up.
We can back each other up. And I'm like you, my entire life, I had no one to talk to other than a little brother who was going through the same thing. So we were just scrambling.
Yeah.
And I was very grateful and thankful when I was able to finally meet you, Robin, and spill my guts.
Oh, thank you.
This is what's happened to me. And then you had the same thing. I'm like, well, I know now I wasn't alone.
Yeah, it just worked really well because she had gotten a hold of me and we just briefly talked and we ended up, I can't remember, was it Mike Beulah's show? I can't remember which one it was, but he got hold of me and he's like, she said she'll only come on if you'll go on there. I'm like, okay. Apparently now I'm going on. And we just clicked from the get-go. Like we had so much in common and so much fun. And of course, we get into trouble in Daryl's group as well. And
yeah, for sure. And that was my first podcast. And I was like, I've never done a podcast. I'm not doing it by myself.
It's scary.
I was very happy to do it with Robin.
Yeah, she's like, if I go on, will you go? And I'm like, I guess I can. But it works out really well. Like her and I have a ball. I would do a million of them with her. She's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I actually had that happen once on the show. They weren't going to go on unless their friend came on. And the friend stood them up.
Oh,
and we went live. They were like, gotcha. And he disconnected. I was like, and they're like, what do I do?
Like
I'm
girl
like,
power,
live.
look out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
we do. We get up there and Jen and I tag team. We tag team. We get a lot done.
We do.
One of us can't do, the other one can. So it works out good.
Yeah.
But they've been loud and proud. Like they're like bebopping all over the place lately. I don't know what's going on. I had one I was talking to. He's now a friend of mine, but it was somebody that I started out working with. And I was talking to him a couple weeks ago, and I let the dog out the backyard. And there was one doing the belly crawl across the backyard. I was like, oh my God. And the dog would run. And I was surprised because it was one of the teenagers. And I would have thought mommy would have come over that fence and just went nuts at the dog. But I was out there and she didn't do anything with it. It did the belly crawl all the way over to the fence and then stood up and hopped the fence.
Wow.
They've been on me here lately too. And it's not the sass this time. It's not the Foots. It's the Dogman. And I mean,
see, they've been pretty active over here. I heard them out the other night, and then we've got the werewolf that goes right across from the driveway, and he's always there. Like once in a while you'll see him moving around in the woods, but he stays pretty much in the same spot over there. So he's fine. But the Dogmen have been active. They have been active, but I think it's cooler out. They're just, like I said, they're loud and proud right now. They don't seem to care what's going on or who's doing what.
Prowl and hunt. They took down the gifting tree that I've been using for years and years to take my gifts to the SAS, their cornbread buckets. And I went up there a few weeks ago and it had been snapped completely off at the dirt. And we're talking a cedar tree, a massive cedar tree, like this big around. It's about 35 feet tall. Snapped off at the dirt and just laid down.
Wow.
Oh, mercy.
Wow.
They haven't torn down any of the trees yet. They have been pretty much demolishing the bushes. The bushes right now in my back are level to the ground. And I don't understand because they make like tunnels in them so they can get in there. And they did it in the front bushes that go on around the outside of the property in the front as well. But Igor Borsov was here one year and he climbed in there where they made the tunnel in the front bush and it pissed him off and they never went back in that front bush again.
Oh, really?
Oh, they were so mad. They were livid. And they never went back in there again, but they have them on the other side and then all in the back. And this year they just massacred them. I mean, they are like right down to the ground. It looks like there's been about 10 of them just sitting back there.
Well, I had built a flower bed and filled it full of catnip of all things, but I like the smell of catnip. And
yeah.
It was built just like a birthing hut, like the birthing hut I saw right before I was charged that time by that SAS. And so I built it out of cedar limbs and I filled it full of catnip and it grew so beautiful and tall. And then one day I go out there this past summer and it's just completely flattened and half of it's gone. I said, since
Yeah.
Dogman want catnip, but I got instantly, it wasn't them. It was the sass that took the
They
catnip.
love it.
Oh, is that what it was?
And it
Okay.
was 4 feet tall.
Mm.
But they just literally wiped it out. You could tell the night before they slept there because they mashed it down really nice, made it really nice and soft. And then the next day I go out and it's just pulled up and gone. Wow. I was like, you little stinks.
So we have
They're still going through all the cat food.
We have some
They
questions.
take every one of it here.
I want Robin. Everybody wants to know, how's your new grandbaby doing?
Oh, thank you. She is wonderful. She is absolutely a delight. Oh my gosh, she could chew on those cheeks forever. She's so good.
Awesome. That's awesome. And I believe it was standing. No, where is it? He wanted to know if you could. Let me see if I can find it. If you could, please, Jen, if you could talk about the howl. I'm trying to find it. Did you have? Yeah. About the howling that's going on. I'm trying to find it. I don't know. Anyway.
It started on the 28th, which was probably right around the full moon. And we were getting ready to go to bed about midnight. And all of a sudden, my dogs just erupted and started running around the house, just shaking, just terrified and barking. And I went to my bedroom window and I could hear the howling coming from the creek, which is about 70 yards in front of my house. So I'll go to the front door and look out, and they're just howling back and forth to 3 that are on the ridge behind my house, which is probably 200 or 300 yards from my back door. And they're all howling back and forth at each other. And this went on for over an hour. So for an hour, my husband's trying to get to sleep. He's got to get to work the next day. And our dogs are just racing around the house and literally shaking and foaming almost at the mouth. They're so terrified. So I had to stay up with them, calm them down. They don't act that way when it's the foots. So I knew it was a dog then. Oh. But it was just constant howling back and forth. Mm-hmm. And the past 2 nights, it's been the same thing. It's just about midnight every night they start up. So I don't know if it's the cooler weather or they're hunting. I think they're hunting because I've seen several deer staying real close to the house, out of the woods, and staying really close to a light that we have, the electric company put up. And they're bedding down right there around that light. So something has literally run the deer out of the woods. So I figured it was the dog.
Do you have any thoughts on that, Robin? Like what's going on at her? Can you?
Well, it's the time of year. I mean, they're getting ready for winter time. Even if you're in a southern state, you still have winter. It's going to get colder, and they're stocking up. They're going to stock up all the way until it gets too cold for them to do it. So right now, they're just getting anything they can. They will get these deer, and they'll find a cave or whatever, and they'll stack them. Like we had in Michigan, one of the DNR officers found 14 gutted deer in a cave with all these gigantic footprints all around, 14 of them. And then you go in there and you see where they've gathered, crops from farmers' fields, whether it's been corn or beans or whatever. And they stockpile. I mean, they're a type of a people. They just are. And they're smart. They know what they're doing. They know it's going to get cold. They're not going to want to be out. And that's exactly what they're doing. They're still stocking up. And we've had a lot of full moons, which is great for them for hunting. And so it's just been, and of course, there's more energy from the moon. And as we all know, everything on them is based by frequency and energy. And so they're going to pull more from it. And like on the nights that it's been a full moon, it's like a freak zone. I can remember one time they went crazy outside, and I went outside and I said, "What is going on?" And they said, "Oh, we're having a magic party." Authorize this party because I did not authorize a magic party.
I think part of the reason they took down the gifting trees, it made a perfect blind, a deer trap, because there's an alleyway that the Foots use that goes in a fence and a huge growth of old hardwoods, and they sort of overhang this area that's been walked down by them and the deer. And there's a lot of oak trees in there dropping acorns. So I'm thinking they dropped that big tree as a trap when they're heading deer down that way.
Possible. I know they're like here, it's deer season, and they drop the dogs off and let the dogs run in the woods and chase the deer because the snakes are so bad. Like I'm born and raised in Michigan. You don't do anything like that. That's just like so not bad. That's so not good. But they do that here. And so the dogs are even now coming out of the woods. So the Foots are following the deer out there because the dogs are running towards the road, and so are the deer. But
so somebody just asked, were there deers whole in the cave they found, or are they in pieces?
No, they were a full deer that you could see where something had ripped the abdomen open and taken out the guts.
Wow.
Other than that, they are fully formed all together and all stacked on top of each other.
Oh, like a meat locker.
Yeah, it was. They were literally stacked on top of each other. We got there the day after the DNR had found that. I had went with Igor Borsteff and Bob Daigle, and I can't remember who the other person was. I think Joe Stewart, but we had all went out there. This was several years ago, and they were trying to get him to wood knock, and I said, well, just do it. And they said, no, they won't. We've tried to get this group out here to do it. So I picked up a stick and I whacked it on a tree, and I immediately got a response. So all the guys were mad at me because I was the only one that could get a response. But they were talking about it because there was all kinds of cave systems in there, and they had it all stored. I mean, they had vegetables back in there, and of course the gigantic footprint in the dirt, that kind of the calling card, but they do. And we used to find them in Michigan where they would have different things buried. They would bring in fish from the lakes and the rivers, and they would bury them in the sand.
Mm-hmm.
And then they must preserve it because they would have them stacked in the sand all over my property. I could find mounds of them. And every time you'd open it up, there's always fish in it.
Wow.
But yeah, but they do. They stack up. They know what they're doing. Like I said, they'll ransack the farmers' fields and people's gardens and anything else they need.
Chicken.
They'll get chicken. They'll get moss. They like the moss because the moss can be used to help insulate things to try to stay warm. I mean, very much things that you would think, somebody that lived off grid or Native Americans, First Nations would use. They do the same thing.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm. They're very smart people. That's what.
Oh, they are highly intelligent.
They are a type of people, just like the Foots.
Yeah. Well, and the thing of it is they're going to work as a collective. So whatever they do, they're resourceful enough to pull it off better than we ever could because we don't work well together. We don't even share our sandboxes, okay? So these guys, they work as a collective, for the benefit of all of them more so than just individually. And so that's why they succeed when we fail.
Interesting.
This is very true.
Interesting. Tennessee, Kentucky Bigfoot states, wow, I know giants will stack stuff in the caves.
Yep.
I heard of that. So that's crazy. How did the DNR response to it?
They didn't know what to think. They thought at first it was a homeless person, but then the footprints, why is somebody out barefooted with these gargantuan feet? At the same time, it's so cold that everybody else is wearing like hiker boots and, insulated shirts and heavy winter coats and that type of thing. So, I mean, I'm sure that they knew. They had reports out of that park for years that they were there. So it's not like it wasn't any, a big surprise. But for a formal report, they're not going to put it down in there. That would, of course, that was several years ago too, but they wouldn't even do that as a formal report now.
Somebody asked, did the caves have any stink or stank or any smells? Because
the one that I went in did not. There were other caves there that I didn't, but the one that I went in did not have an odor in it at all.
That's interesting.
And it was really weird because the cave wasn't that far from the water source. There was all kinds of, ducks and fish and everything over there as well. And we walked out there and it just started to ice over. So we were walking on the ice and you could see these gigantic footprints all over the ice. You could see where they were walking back and forth across that as well.
That is crazy.
They don't hesitate to leave the prints behind. And I've told them, you humans can track you if you keep leaving your prints, okay? And
we had a female
just clear up the print.
Yeah, we had a female that would literally grab branches off the trees and go behind herself like it was a broom and swipe away her footprints. Yeah. Yeah. The men don't seem to care as much, but the typical women, we're cleaning up the footprints no matter what's going on.
That's right.
Wow, that's wild. Are you there, Ver? She's having some internet problems. So what else is going on at Jen's and Robin's place?
Other than a lot of howling, it's been really, really relatively quiet. I know a few weeks ago, my husband went out back with a flashlight. And he went out the door 2 seconds. He came back in. He said, Jen, there's a huge set of eyeballs out here. And I walked outside. And I said, you better start counting again. There's 3 more over here. It was just some of the Foots walking up and down the fence, patrolling, watching the house.
Yeah.
And he said, can't you tell them to stay not so close to the house? I said, there's a reason they're so close to the house. They're watching us. They're watching over us for a reason. No, I'm not going to ask them to do that. And then the howling starts up. So it's been very active as far as the vocalizations and things. As far as seeing, Bobby has seen them twice. And then that very night, I took a couple of pictures, and you could see perfect, beautiful eye shine of a very big foot. One of the boys, one of the bigger boys.
Wow.
So yeah, it's always something around here.
So Daryl Denton says forest people will also walk back in the same tracks as well.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Every chance they can.
They also
definitely will.
what about twins? This has been
They have a
popping
lot
up.
of twins.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they do have a lot of twins. They do. It's, it's pretty much like our people. They are a type of people. Some years it seems to be that our people have a ton of twins, and other years it's not so much. And I remember a couple of years when I was having my kids, people were having triplets. And, it's the human thing.
Mm.
I don't think that they have many more than we do, but they definitely have them.
Yeah, I've got a white sass here, and she had a set of twins about 3 years ago, and they were the cutest things you've ever seen. I caught her laying on her back one day, not far from the back of the house, and I walked over to the fence, and she laid down, and they crawled up on her back, and they were exactly the same size. Both of them were white. I mean, it was just beautiful sight. So yeah, they do absolutely have twins.
Yeah, we hear a lot of reports of that. So,
Yeah.
Liana King, does Bigfoot, do they mate for life? Or are they more,
It depends on which group you ask, because I know some that they've been together for a very long time with no intent of splitting. And then I know others that actually have taken more than one mate.
Now,
So I think it depends on the clan. Yeah. It depends on the clan. And I think a lot of it has to do with what is allowed within that, and we've talked about this, and Jen and I have on other shows, there's like this blanket thing of laws, which is what we would look at as our federal laws. And then each state has their state laws. It's kind of like that with the clans. They have, the blanket laws that go for everything. And then each group, whatever they will allow, whether or not that's to use all the paranormal abilities, or whether they're more the Amish style where they don't use anything, it gets a little bit more broken up by clan.
Wow.
Nah.
Yeah. We hear that a lot. So that was a good question. So yeah. You all, Barbara, you back, or she froze? She's
frozen in time.
She's frozen.
Come back to us.
Let's see here. Let me take care of that. There we go. And so I haven't seen you all. Let me show you, and let me get your all's impressions of what I captured out behind my house. It was 3 days after I put the cameras out, and I have no idea. So let me bring them up and get your all's intake.
Uh-oh.
Is it the pictures I've seen?
The pictures you've seen, yes, but I wanted her opinion too. So we'll start with Exhibit A. Then we come back to my screen and share it. And let's see what she thinks as well. Share screen. And action. So this is a picture right at the edge of a field, right? You can see the field. And so next, I got this. Next, I got that. And voila.
You want to go first, Jen, or you want me to?
I told him it's the forehead of a sass and the shoulder. Forehead and
because
shoulder.
the first thing I'm going to do is what I do with every photo that I get sent is I look for energy signatures, because your energy signatures never lie. They don't lie. I don't care what anybody says. They can be cloaked and you can't see them, but their energy signature is still going to resonate there. So you're going to know they're there even if you can't see them. And I've gotten in trouble with people with photos before. They're like, well, no, there's clearly nothing there. And I'm like, you may think there's nothing there, but there's an energy signature that says differently. And it'll read it. Even if they were there like a couple days ago, you'll still get some residual energy off of it. You have a lot of energy signatures in there.
What about this one? This was the next night.
Okay, to me, I'm going to be honest with you. That to me looks more like fur, and they don't have fur, they have hair. So that one I would be a little bit more suspect of it being something else, because it looks, if you look at it, it looks more fur based.
Yeah.
And they don't have
I'm
fur.
at a loss.
Yeah, they don't have fur.
5 feet in the air though, wasn't it?
5.5. It comes up
now,
to here.
8 in the air.
Yeah, that forehead that to me looked like it would be Sasquatch. I mean,
looks
to me
like
it
an
did.
albino sass to me. It looks like you can see part of the cranial, part of the temple indentation, and part of the reddish colored skin.
Right here.
So light hair.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely to me too. I agree with Jen. And it's got the energy in it that shows part human as well as the rest of it. So I mean, that's a real good indicator. I'm not picking up anything canine in it, so the only thing left is the sass.
No, I think it's a sass.
And what about that furry picture?
That one, I'm not really sure. They could have, I mean, I know it sounds crazy, but they use every animal out in the woods as a pet anyway. They could have had something on his shoulder, had a possum up there. They could have had a raccoon up there, because I've seen them have that happen multiple times.
Squirrels. Mine play with squirrels.
Oh my God, they love, what is with the squirrels? They love the squirrels.
They do.
And like, we have all these stupid feral cats here. God bless their little sweet souls. I mean, they'll probably be here till I'm old and gray, because they won't go anywhere. And they're afraid to be out in the woods because they're afraid they'll get eaten by something. So they all stay up by the house, but they'll come up here and pick them up and walk around the yard with them. Like, you look out there and they've got cats draped all over their shoulders.
I had a Great Pyrenees dog. You know how big they are. And we
Oh,
looked at
no, I have one.
and she's running figure eights in the field, and we're like, what is she doing? And she was chasing a juvenile, small, a foot, and they were going back and forth doing this figure eight, and all of a sudden she would change direction, and he would change direction, and he'd be chasing her in a figure eight. And they did this until they realized we were standing there watching them. It was the cutest thing ever, but they were just playing.
Did you notice that they love the Pyrenees because of the white?
I think so.
Well, because
I've
the white
heard of that.
white is purity, white is friendship, white is all things good. So the white animals, they are absolutely obsessed with.
Mm-hmm.
They really are, and they go crazy over my Pyrenees. They would walk through the fires of hell to get to the Pyrenees. They're forever bringing her stuff.
So they also have a question about clans. If one clan moves in, do they argue, or do they get along, or do they say, we're out of here?
It's like with neighbors. You know, you have neighbors you live by, you get along with. You have other neighbors that you can't stand, so you sell your house so you don't have to be near them or have anything to do with them anymore. It really just depends. It really depends on who's moving in. You have to remember that these are a type of a people. Therefore, you've got every single one has a different personality, has a different agenda, has a different attitude. And then every different clan has different set of rules. So it gets kind of complex. It's not really as cut and dry as it might seem. So it just depends. You know, for the most part, when they move in, I think they do pretty well. You know, I don't think there's a whole lot of fighting, but there will be some that they don't get along with. Absolutely.
My problem right now is I have a clan of Foots on one side of the farm with about a 50 or 60 yard stretch straight in between them. On the other side of the farm, I have Dogman, and they really don't get along. Looks like they have this don't go in this zone here, and we'll all
wow. Yeah, see, the ones here, they seem to share the territory really well. I mean, I don't see them all sitting there by the fire singing Kumbaya, but they, you know, they get along well together. Like, you'll see them walking across the front yard, you know, and the other one's walking down across the road or in the back or whatever. And they don't seem to bother each other. Now, the one Dogman picture I got, he was like 20 feet off my porch when I took his picture. I just happened to be outside at the right time, and I took it. And there was a Sasquatch, like probably 25 feet behind him. They're always in the bushes somewhere and watching.
There's one that was raised with Sky. So there is actually a wolf person. I call him a wolf being because he looks more wolf than dog. And Joseph.
Yeah.
And he was raised up with Sky. But now the rest of the new crew, they just don't like each other. And they've set a boundary. Don't enter here, either one of us, and we'll be fine.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that boundary, my house is in the middle of it.
Zerky, he's been around he's been here since he was like 3. He was probably born here. And he's been here the whole time I've been here. He's the one that destroys all my trees because he's getting bigger and he's getting heavier and he keeps tearing apart my trees. But he's the dearest thing. He comes up on the porch and gets all the cat food. I keep seeing his head in the glass like panels around my front door. And I'll be sitting in the living room and all of a sudden you see this big black head as he's taking all the cat food. But he's been out there with the Dogman, and they don't seem to have a problem with them. Now, my next door neighbor, she looked out at the end of her driveway, and there were 2 Dogmen that were walking across the field right across from the end of her driveway. And there were Foots out in front of my yard. So they seem to do okay. Like, I've never noticed them not getting along. Like, I've been to areas that I've gone to, and had to, try to help smooth things over because they weren't getting along. And I know certain places, they just will not share those areas. But for the most part, I think I have more clients than not that they actually get along quite well. Like I said,
had one night here that was just hairy scary because the whole night long you could hear the foot screaming and howling and throwing things one side of the farm, and you could hear the howling and the hyenas, heckles, and you could hear them throwing and screaming stuff at them, and it was all night long. It was like I thought they'd go outside and scream at them, stop.
That's
well, I got that one photo of that one hybrid that's half Dogman, half Sasquatch. And she looks just like a teddy bear in her face, but she's got the Dogman tail on her.
How is that possible?
Well, you have to go back in the genetics, and
I was about to say, here we go. We're getting ready to watch Jurassic Park.
You got to go down. You got to go down the rabbit hole. You got to wait for the Dogman study to come out, but you'll see the connection. And it is possible.
So there's two questions on the board. Linda, what do you think the lean piles are? What different limbs and all, and standing upright in a pile? And also, has somebody seen Asia?
Well, I think they're a playpen for the little ones for the most part, but they also use them for portaling in and out, for transporting themselves from one location to another. Is what I've gotten for it. And now some of the piles that I have come across are birthing huts, but they're made different. They're not like so. They're oval. They're rounded, kind of like me. And I look at that instantly. I know, that's a birthing hut.
The other thing, too, that we need to realize is all these structures, they don't make a structure for no reason. Okay, they just don't. They're all a form of communication. One way or another, they're communicating, and they have a service with them. And the other thing is that they use them for a variety of things. One structure is not going to be just strictly this or just this. They do it in various things. Now, when you have a large group of them that will meet at a certain spot, they will go and they'll put the poles up against the tree. And of course, then that also looks like a teepee, but it's not technically a teepee. It's just, that's how many they've marked that have come for that meeting. There could be 10 there could be 3 there could be 4 there. They each have one, and they're going to put it up against that as a marker. They can use it as a blind. I've seen them actually put the kids in them while they were out hunting or doing what they need to do. I agree with Jen. They have the birthing huts. They have temporary ones when the hunters will leave the clan, because, if the food source gets low where they're at, they're going to send the hunters for those clans out to other areas and go get food to bring back for everybody else. They're not going to go, they don't migrate. That always cracks me up when people say that they migrate, but they don't. And so they will make these temporary lean-tos. So they've got, shelter for the night, but there's just such a large variety and so many things. And if you go in them and the top of them, and Jen knows this as well, put your hand in the top peak of that, you're going to find an energy flux. That energy flux is what they use to create a portal in there so that they can go and do whatever they want to do. And they used to do that when I was in Michigan. I had this huge thing that they had made that was rectangular shaped, and it had various structures inside of it. And they had one in that, and they would go into this rectangular shaped thing, and they would one by one, they would go into that teepee. And they would portal out, and they would until they were all gone, and they'd be gone for a couple hours, and they would be back.
That's interesting. Daryl Denton, Jennifer and Robin, do you believe that Bigfoot are being outnumbered by the Dogman because having so many pups at once?
No, they got it covered.
Okay.
The Dogmen here are seriously outnumbering the Bigfoots at the moment because they do have so many pups. Yes, and it's
over here we're good. There's a very big balance here. I'm not seeing even the Dogmen here are not having a lot. There's the only ones that I've seen here, and when I was in Michigan, and even out in the few that I've seen in Nebraska, and I saw a couple in Colorado, and they really haven't. I mean, 2. They're not having litters. They're literally having 2. So I don't know if it's maybe the government created ones that maybe that would change, because we have to, again, you go back to the genetics on how they got there and what created them. And because most of these are ET created hybrids, those are only having 2. I mean, once in a great while, just like a woman with a triplet, because of the genetics behind them. So I don't know. I would have to say if they're having them like that over there, it's got to be the kind that are there.
They're having a lot of little ones. I see a lot of little ones here running around. They do.
Wow.
Not sure how many they're having at one time, but there's a lot.
Yeah,
like
see,
I
over
said,
here, we're,
strict boundary. You know, the foot are here and they're here, and I'm in the middle.
oh, geez. Yeah, we're not doing that here. It all seems to be where I've been at, it's always been predominantly more the Sasquatch.
And it was for me until 5 years ago.
Oh, wow.
So I'm getting a lot of messages to show you all this picture.
Yeah.
So nobody knew about these pictures until somebody that has abilities called me out on a show live.
Yes.
And I was like, what? So here's picture 1 at 9:27 at 1:07 a.m. Picture 2, you see the trees just moved, just the thing. That's possibly wind, no big deal. But I didn't disclose this to anybody because I didn't know what it was. Picture 3, picture 4, picture 5. Okay. So what is that?
Cloaking.
Yeah, it's totally cloaked, but I'm not getting Dogman energy out of it.
It looks more sass to me. That's cloaking.
Yeah, the energy off of it is definitely Sasquatch.
So
but it is in the middle of cloaking. And the shimmer. They do the shimmer and the cloak.
What's very interesting is that no wildlife in this area. Now, all the other cameras, I had 300 to 400, 500 pictures of deer, turkey, squirrels, field mice. I'm talking the size of a matchbox at 20-something yards running up and down a fallen tree, right? And I was recording. I was like, what am I recording? And when I zoomed in on the video, it was a field mouse. So I have no idea why nothing in this part of the woods is living, but there's no wildlife, not even birds.
Did you ever find your tape?
No. And now, ladies and gentlemen, hold up. Y'all laugh.
Yeah. No.
Look, I got gorilla shipping tape. Okay. Look how wide that is.
Yeah.
I mean, I send a lot of packages. So I use 2 whole rows, which I think there's 80 yards on a row, something like that. And I put some around trees. Like if you would walk into it, you'd be like, oh, right? And to get this off the trees, you have to be human and use a knife because this stuff doesn't stretch that well. It's the gorilla tape. I know it's kind of funny, but you know, it's more stickier, right? That's why I use it. And it's stronger. But when I went back, there was no trace around these trees. And I had them in front of these cameras. And you can see me walk up to the cameras and I'm dumbfounded because it's taking pictures and recording me. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be great. I got it all on video. Nothing. The big long row that I unraveled and laid out in the woods, you know, I figured I'd have hair, you know, like a cat stepping on tape, right? Gone. It's like, no, it didn't. The wind didn't carry it off. I mean, you see me putting it down and you see me coming back and there's nothing there. I'm just standing there. I'm thinking, once again,
I can just see the tantrum they threw when they walked into that time.
Oh my God.
Well, that's what I wanted to see. Bring
everything down.
Yeah, that's what I want to see if it's something would walk in. And I had it up to where the deers and stuff that are around wouldn't.
Because it's always good to piss off something that weighs 1,000 pounds plus.
Yeah, exactly.
Impressive viewing. So let's make them mad.
And I said this on the show. I had nightmares that they were going to roll up a big ball and stick it on my back door.
Yeah.
You know,
like a big spider web.
Logan wants to know, how do they feel about people taking pictures of their structures?
They don't like that.
Not at all.
Really?
They don't like it.
No.
They're taking pictures of them.
Oh.
No, they don't.
So now let me explain something. I'm very good with technology. Now I don't spend no expense on certain toys or gadgets. I'm that guy. Okay. So when I go out, I got the high-end GPS. My daughter, I didn't tell her about the pictures because I didn't know what they were. I didn't tell anybody really for a long time. And she saw those on the show and she called me up. She said, I'm not going in the woods with you no more. That's it. I'm done. Because the GPS, right? I could make satellite calls, text, and call people, take pictures, videos. We went out to get the cameras. It kept saying, turn around, walk in the other direction, just like you're driving. I'm going in the wrong direction. And she got fed up. And now she starts getting scared. We're going to get lost. I'm like, look, she's like, you need to send it back. And I'm like, I had it for a year and a half. I ain't going to tell her that. So she actually downloaded a compass on her iPhone. It wouldn't work. And I started getting nervous then because it worked before. So, and then one night I thought I lost my camera. I thought they zapped it, and I freaked out before a show, didn't I, Barb?
Yes,
and I was like,
did.
oh my God. I mean, my one expensive camera, you know, not my high end, but my middle. And I was freaking out.
They messed it up.
They messed all the information up on it. The year took all the pictures off.
Yep. Yeah. When I was in Michigan, a friend of mine and I, we went out to this one area, and we went out at like 2 PM. So it wasn't like it was at nighttime. And we thought, we'll just walk in there, check everything out. It looked like it had some structures in there. We went in there. What we thought was a half hour, it went from complete daylight to 100% darkness. We couldn't see in front of us. Our phones wouldn't work. We couldn't get the flashlight to work, the GPS. We couldn't get out of there. So now we got shadowed. We had 3 Sasquatch on one side, and then there was like 4 or 5 of them that was killing a raccoon and trying to eat it on the other side of us. We couldn't see to get out of there, and we're like standing in one spot because we couldn't see the trail. We couldn't walk. We couldn't do anything. And there was a white one, a black one, and another younger black one that was on my left side, and I could see them. Like they were close enough where I could see the outline.
No.
And I'm just trying to get out of here. All I want to do is just get out of here.
You're that one in that horror movie where everybody's losing their stuff. And you're like, it's okay.
I would never do that. I would never do that.
I'll be hyperventilating, getting ready to pass out. Yeah.
They come up behind me and play with my hair.
I would die. I would be like Rambo.
No, like my thing is, I don't care if you follow me, but don't be touching me if I can't see you before you touch me.
Oh,
and they come up.
You would be on my shoulders piggybacking, and I'll be trying to run.
I didn't think we'd ever get out of there that night, and we finally did. I mean, they shadowed us all the way out. They were the only reason we got out of there because they wanted us out of there. And I'm like, I swear, we're trying to get out of here. We're just stupid, okay? So the next night, what do? We go back. Only we go at 1 o'clock in the afternoon because we're like, we're going to find out.
I watched the movies. I know what happens when you go back.
It did the same thing. We thought we were in there for like 30 minutes again, and all of a sudden it's pitch dark out. And I'm like, I swear to you, if you just let us have something to get out of here, a little flashlight, anything, I swear we'll never come back. And we got light on our phones. So we said, from now on, we're not coming. And we waited like 2 years. We finally drove back over there. And there was a guy and his son that were taking their motocross bikes in there, which I knew the Foots hated because they had a guard that would stand there. As you would walk in, you could feel him. Like he would be all cloaked and he'd be right there. And they would mind speak as you would walk in, you know, what are you doing here? And I'm like, I have permission to walk here. Earthkeeper tells me I can walk where I wish to walk and blah, 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 blah. And he'd be like, okay, then you can pass. And I'd go, it was really crazy. But this kid was there, and my friend looked at the guy and she said, so you guys ever see any Bigfoot over here? And the kid pipes up. He says, yeah, there's a big white one that's back there. It chased me out of here one day on the motorcycle. And I thought, well, we saw that big white one that one time we were back there. So
my God,
we didn't think they'd actually own up to it.
That is crazy. So somebody asked a question about sticks, and I had it marked, but it's key.
What did the girl? Yeah, you can go ahead.
About the sticky disappearance, vanishing, no hair, the tape, and all that.
Yeah, what do you think?
How can you explain that? I mean, are they just like toying with me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. They are. And you're very lucky that you haven't found a big wad all crumped up. So
that's what I thought. I really
you're lucky you haven't found it in your bed, is what you're lucky.
Yeah,
right.
Oh man, even throw it at Fort Knox, ladies and gentlemen.
No, I'm not kidding you. I've gone to go to bed and I find like big bird feathers on my pillow, and I'm like, I got up the other night. I woke up in the middle of the night. I went to use the restroom. I come back in, and standing in front of my TV is this silhouette of a Sasquatch standing in front of my TV, you know, and you would think that I would like freak out. And I'm just like, I'm too tired for this.
Well, we were having trouble with something moving the balls on my pool table. So I took baby powder and put it all the way around the floor, around the pool table. And I put it on the wood base all the way around the pool table. Next morning I get up and there's 3 little fingers that have been drugged through the powder all the way around the table. And there's teeny tiny little baby footprints, bare footprints. In the powdered
sugar. Yeah, put a bowl of powdered sugar out. You want to see somebody play? Put powdered sugar out.
And let them lick
They
it up.
have a ball.
Yeah.
You find fingerprints in it and footprints, and it's everywhere. Just
I got a
everywhere.
picture of one walking across my den. There's across my living room on the back side of my pool table, just scooting across. All the windows and doors is locked. How do you get in the house? You can't tell me they can't walk.
No,
through a
they
wall.
go from physical. Yeah, they go from physical form to spirit form. They walk in the wall. That's what that one did the other night. He stood right in front of the TV. I went over and I just got back on. I mean, what am I supposed to do? No, I mean, really, what do you do? So I'm like, okay. So I just went over and sat back down on the bed, and it turned around and it walked, and it just walked right through the wall, right out through the window, and it kept on going. And I thought, well, this one's for the books. You know, I mean, everybody will put me up as a crazy person now. And I thought, well, they already said I was crazy, so I guess it doesn't matter.
I started taking the same pictures in the
I'm
house.
sick of my crazy
No,
world.
it
My
wasn't
crazy
crazy.
world may be crazy, but it's real.
It is real. Poor little
Yeah.
Bauer about broke his neck the
Kathy's
other
playing
night.
pool.
He's a huge Pyrenees. He's half chow, half Pyrenees. He about broke his neck to have a little gate that blocks off the living room from the den where we stay in the den most of the time. It's just to keep down on the dust and dog hair. They only have access to half the house. And he was barking just ferociously over this gate. So I just leaned my phone around and took a picture. Well, it looked like a ghost standing there, but it wasn't. It was a Bigfoot.
Oh,
Yeah.
Wow.
Right there in the living room.
wow.
Yeah,
Well,
they can
I did John Stamey's show, and I was sitting out on the porch one night, and I had the night vision. A friend of mine got me a thermal, and I had that, and I was taking pictures, and I got a picture of one that was over in the bushes, and his head was over 10 foot off the ground. And then as I went to go take the camera and to go put it back up front, I ended up getting a ghost. I was like, what? Looking for that one.
You just never know
Yeah,
what's
I mean, it was
gonna
crazy.
Yeah. Wow. Wow.
That is. That's
get.
some.
I just don't- I mean-
when Bart
I mean,
was
I
locked up and I saw a white orb go right in front of my face, that's why I did a little double take. I was like, I wonder if anybody saw that. It went
I know.
right on my face.
And it's not that you don't get afraid. I mean, anybody can get scared. It's not that, you know, they don't catch you off guard every now and then, but I think you just get so used to it that, you know, yeah, there's times that you're going to be frightened, because if you ever say that you're never going to get frightened, you're lying out your butt. That's
Yeah.
me.
I
That's just
get
never going
scared.
to happen.
I'm not going to lie. I'm a man. You know how hard it was not to tremble in the woods? Yes. So
I
The
know.
only one that made me nervous was like 14-footer. And then I was like toe to toe. And we had talked about that on here before. And I was toe to toe with them. And he was very nice. Like, he was not aggressive at all. And I think he kind of looked at me and literally, I swear I heard him laugh, because he had to be like, you stupid, hairless human. Like, you're an idiot. What do you think you're going to do about any of this right now? I could toss you like a bag of chips. And then he just let go of the rope and didn't do anything.
Oh my god.
You know, but they've come up, like in Indiana. I did some work in Indiana, and they came up, and they wanted me to clean the land and bless the graves and all the other stuff. And so I'm doing all this stuff for them, and I'm sitting on the ground at that point. So I was pushing pure energy into the ground, and they were coming up behind me, because my hair is normally a lot thicker, and they love it because it's bushy. I look like a yeti, I guess. I don't know. And they literally play with my hair. They have done that since I was little. And when I was in Michigan, and I slept right next to the window, and the window was open every single night, because I had a cat that would come in and out of the window, and they put their hands in, and I'd wake up and have mud and leaves in my hair.
Wow. Ooh.
The one that scared me was the Dogman at the pond, because literally I could hear his
Oh,
mind,
yeah.
I could hear his thoughts, and they were attack or run. He really just
Yeah.
didn't know what to do, and he really gave me a feeling of
Yeah,
fear.
they don't tolerate stuff like everybody else does. The Dogmen are a whole different dynamic.
different.
You know, they're very stoic. They're very, I'm going to guard the place. I'm the police of the woods, and it's going to be my way or the highway, or, you know, I'm going to be the new sheriff in town, and this is the way it's going to be. Now, I've had some that had a sense of humor to them that were actually quite funny, and that was good. But those, I noticed, were ones that really predominantly hung around more of the Bigfoot than they did the Dogmen. But yeah, they can be a handful and a half. I know people that have actually had encounters with them where they've turned around and said, you know, if you let anybody know that you are here, we will kill you.
Wow.
Now, I had one, I was going to do a job in Tennessee, and I ended up not doing it because the Dogmen that guard that particular area, you know, they would tell me over and over again, you know, you can come, but we'll kill you. And so I haven't got there yet. I may still end up there, but I'm not there yet.
But
So I
Today is
know.
not that day. Well, I would have had to go by myself, and it's like the odds are not real good when you one-on-one.
So I get those feelings or any mental pictures when I'm out in the woods. I better run like hell.
Yeah, like listen,
better
you have
pay
to listen to
attention
it
to 'em.
because they do. I mean, you get all of these cryptids when you're out there, the dimensionals, the elementals, whatever. If you pay attention, you have a heads up. You get a warning. They're just very subtle, and you have to be aware of your surroundings and what's going on and pay attention to it and not just take everything for granted. I mean, if you feel it shift in your energy change where it feels more tense and it was real happy-go-lucky, or, you know, if something else changes, however subtle it is, that is them letting you know. I mean, there's generally warnings, even if you don't realize there's warnings, there are warnings before, you know, it all goes to crap.
So,
Changing sense.
so what I did, and why I asked this question, because of that footage I showed you all those pictures, right?
Right.
I went to that area that does not have any wild animals. It's barren. And I saturated that area with 30-something cameras. And I knew deer season was coming, so I got those cables that you cannot cut in the woods. You have to have special blades. Am I going to piss them off?
Well, very possibly.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to get a Christmas card. Let me put it to you that
Wondered
way.
about
Okay.
that.
They're not sending you
Neighbor did
a
that.
card.
He's behind.
There will
Well,
be no
I'm
flowers put on
I'm
your porch.
expecting to see some damaged ones. Right. Yeah. I know it's maybe a sweet and low box. But they also want to know, do they get cranky on each cycle?
Yeah.
I don't know what that means. But
Everything else on the planet does. So
Exactly.
I would assume yes.
Menstrual
But let's
cycle.
be fair. When the guys get in their frame of mind too, they get a little crabby as well.
Yeah.
So, and you know, the thing of it is people don't realize that when it comes to these things, they really are very sexual in nature. Okay, so
yes,
you have some that
is
are
a fact.
yeah, I mean, you have some that are pretty good about being monogamous with their mate, but not all of them are like that. And there have been people that I know that have literally walked in on them having orgy parties. So, you know, yeah.
We just got flagged, ladies and gentlemen, for the 20th time.
Now it's a party. Only here on this show.
What the hell was
Right
that?
here, Rebecca, we need you to.
Yeah.
Don't
So, look, I can't think. Where's Robin live?
I can see them here. No. We don't allow those parties here. But I'm just saying that there have been in various states that I know different people that, yeah, that's actually happened. That's a thing. Mine have been pretty good. Like I don't ever usually say, hey, who's doing the dirty tonight? You know, it's photo time. So I don't have any documented proof. I think that, you know, everybody deserves a little privacy in their life. But,
Well,
you know, I have a lot of my guys are pretty devoted to their mates.
Mm-hmm.
But again, you do have some that have multiple wives. You know, you have all of the different sexual preferences, so to speak.
Oh,
So they're very much a human in that manner.
okay.
So the next question, what is y'all's favorite experiences or encounters?
Favorite?
We're talking Bigfoot and cryptid related.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay, now the show's turning. It's taking an ugly turn here. It's taking a turn.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
all
mine
right.
would be coming face to face with Rosebud. You know, when she charged me, she sat right down in front of me, keep from running over me, and we were like, yeah, this close together, you know. And that was absolutely probably maybe not my favorite, but it really stuck with me because we were so close, and I could really take in her presence, her essence, her energy, her smell. Could feel what she was saying with her eyes, you know, could really take in her presence of her body. Yeah, that was very enlightening for me.
Yeah.
What about you, Robin?
I had two. I had one where Sadie brought her baby up for me to see, and the baby was very tiny, and so that was tremendous. And she let me get very, very close to it, and it would like go to the base of a tree, and it would go up about 3 foot, and that was as far as it could crawl up because it was so tiny. And then it would go down and go to the next tree, and it'd go up about 3 foot and down. And it did that about 5 times, and then she picked it up and put it over her shoulder and turned over, and she was very close to me. And so it was tremendous. I got to see the baby, and I enjoyed that. And then I had another one where Shadow came up out of the woods and was like 10 feet from me and just kind of stood there. And he
Mhm.
was in physical form and looked at me while I was looking at him. And, you know, and he allowed me to do that for some time before he finally cloaked. So that was kind of cool as well.
Oh, that's great.
The other memory
But
I have really stuck with me was when I met Asia when I was just a baby, when I was 3 or 4 years old. And we were just face to face. And I gave her a buttercup. So, you know, those two events really stuck with me.
I think too, you know, they've saved my life about 6 times. They tend to be a lot of work for them. So like I'm very, very grateful that they do, because yeah, there's like them and one other person that can do healing work on me. And other than that, I'm on my own. So yeah, they've been very generous with keeping me alive. So I'm pretty grateful with that.
Yeah.
Especially that time he's in the hospital.
Yeah, if it wasn't for them, I would never have survived. That was an ET attack, and
Yeah.
that was not looking like the survival rate was well at all.
So we have a question. I don't know how to put it. Robin, do you keep samples of their menstrual blood? Let's just put it that way.
No, absolutely, absolutely not. Absolutely not. In fact, years ago, we had found a stool sample. And Igor Burstov was at the house, or he wasn't at the house. He was back in Russia, and he had contacted me, and he's like, "Oh no, you must save the sample." And I'm like, "I don't want anybody sampled that badly."
Right.
Everybody should have some privacy, for the love of God. And he just had this fit. He wanted me to have it. I never did do it, but no, I don't. You know, I try to be as respectful as possible. I do have photos of them. I do have one photo or video of them that I don't ever share. And the photos that I have shared, you guys have all had them here, so you guys have seen them. I do those. They were very much aware of them. I'd had them for years, and they've given permission for those, only because if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be out talking about it. You know, I've talked about that before. As soon as they tell me they don't need me out here talking about them anymore, I'm done. So this was just for their benefit. But yeah, I really don't. Like hair samples and stuff, absolutely. You know, Melba's checked the hair samples and that, and of course it came back that they were definitely a Sasquatch. But I have, you know, a couple of teeth, but I just don't do it. I try to give them a little bit of privacy.
Teeth, what they look like?
The two that I have are canine. So they have the eye teeth just like we do, and they're quite large, but they're definitely from a Sasquatch.
Wow.
Dime
And
size,
they will
nickel.
No, they're good size. I mean, they're probably, I want to say, if you were to look at your index finger from the tip of your finger, just almost to the first knuckle, they're quite large. They're quite large. They may get tested this time. I'm not sure. I work on the genome project with Dr. Ketchum, so we may test them this time.
With us, yes, a lot of reports that I don't talk about.
Yeah. Yep.
Big teeth like chiclets, but even larger. You know.
Yeah.
Really big.
Yeah, they're huge.
And I've got that one good picture of him smiling at me. You can see a whole bottom row of those big teeth.
Yep. Yeah, they're huge. Their teeth are huge.
So we got 2 questions. Yeah, okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Barb.
Jen and Robin. So does Dogman not do they wean pups, and they do not breastfeed lactate?
I've never heard of that. The ones I've seen have all breastfed.
Yeah. Okay. And the SAS too. They breastfeed.
Okay. And then this is the other one. Has Dr. Melba Ketchum had any luck with the Dogman DNA?
Yes, and we've got them out in the labs right now. Work is being done, and we are anxiously awaiting results. And as soon as we get them that we are able to share, they will be out.
Now that right there intrigues me, because I know a lot about DNA in the sequences and the chromosomes and all that.
Yeah,
I would love to see how that comes out.
Yeah, I mean, I know what the Dogmen have told me, and what I found out on my own. So we'll see.
Any insight?
I'm going to keep that to me just for now, only because of the study. If the study wasn't going on, then I would just say, hey, this is what they told me.
That. Yeah,
you know, I think what you're going to find, and we will do any cryptids that we can get good samples of, obviously. That's why it's called the cryptid genome study this time. And I think we're going to see everything is going to fall into line, right, lineage-wise, as it goes down through the various cryptids. Because remember where these are all started from. The ETs created these things.
So ET created. They don't.
Yeah,
follow
before the
same laws of
government even
physics that we-
started. Yeah, before the government even started their genetic manipulation and all the garbage that they're doing, the ETs had it firsthand. In fact, that's where our government learned how to do it. So we've got, a lot of these are all hybrids.
Mm.
And, cat people, I think you're going to find, and right as of the second, we're not testing any, but if we were to have DNA samples of it, I think you would find human, ET, and feline. And it's going to matter which ones they get grabbed. I mean, that's where the variations, you see everybody that talks about all the variants of the Dogman. And I don't mean any disrespect by this, but it also comes down to which dog got grabbed when they created it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, did a pit bull get grabbed? Did a shepherd get grabbed? The one Dogman I had here looked like a hyena, and hyenas technically aren't a dog,
Right.
but that's what he looked like,
Right.
So I think it'll be definitely, I think it's going to go right down the lineage. I've had the lizard man, I got that one photo of one here. And I think if we were to test that thing, you're looking at probably, a lizard and human and ET, but that would be my guess. I don't have any way to prove it.
They've had a millennia to do what they do. They can do more than us. The ETs.
And then you get the government that jumps in and creates on top of it. So I mean, it's a genetic free for all.
Yeah.
So
but if we can get the samples, then we'll test it.
Go ahead, Barb.
Yeah. We have a question. Is there if there are complications during a birth, would they do a C-section?
I'm going to be honest and tell you, I don't know. I've not done a C-section on them. I know that they've gotten hold of me when there's been problems with birth, but I doubt it. I don't think that they would know to do that. But is it possible? They've got their own healers there that do various things. But I would be very surprised. You might have a clan that seems to be a little bit not so much educated, but have a little bit more knowledge, and maybe, one of the midwives would do it, but I don't know. I've never known of any.
Robin and Jen, can you explain how you see the difference between spiritual and cloaking, between going spiritual and cloaking? Is there a difference?
There's really not. It's from what I have seen, they can literally transform themselves into a shadow or into an orb of light that's extremely bright, and it can travel.
Yeah, it's all done by the frequency and the energy. The higher the frequency, the more they cloak. So when you get the shimmer, which is the predator effect, that looks like the gelled water, okay, that people have seen moving through the trees or whatever, that's what they call the shimmer. And that just is because it's got more of a shimmer to it. But then they do the cloaking, and they can go 100% transparent. They can go into spirit form. And I agree with Jen that when they're doing that spirit form, that's more of the actual cloaking. That's, in my opinion, for whatever that's worth, that is not the same thing as a shimmer. A shimmer looks like gelled water. That cloaking in spirit form, again, it's all controlled by the frequency and the energy. The higher that frequency is, and the more they vibrate, if you ask them, they will tell you flat out that all they're doing is bending light. But if you really push it and you ask them, okay, how do you bend the light? Then it always comes back to the same thing. It comes back to the frequency and the energy.
Okay.
My son asked Guy one time, how do you do it? And literally, David went into a trance state and drew out an amazing piece of art that literally looks like bending light waves.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what they claim it.
Yeah. And it's like opening and closing a curtain. That's what it was like.
So we have another question. Is Rob? I'm sorry. Is Robin?
No,
are
you're
you
fine.
saying that Dogman is an experiment hybrid?
Well, the ETs originally created the Dogman, from what I've been told by ETs, and that's come from several different kinds that told me that. Can I prove it? Of course, I can't prove it. All I can do is tell you what I was told, and they created them. In fact, if you look at the Ebens, the Ebens are one of the first ones that came out and said that they were creating Dogman hybrid. So they were. Our government got involved in it because they could use them for war.
Right.
So, but they already had the ETs, and that's where they learned how to do it all.
And don't forget Stalin. Remember, he tried to do that with humans and apes. And
he sure did. I tell you what, when I was in Russia, we went to a museum for Stalin, and that was the creepiest place ever. Like, I got in there because I talk to spirits. I can talk to anything that'll talk to me. So I went in there, and it was new, and we were supposed to be there for like this grand opening for this thing, and had all the artifacts in there. And oh my God, it was so overpowering. And it was like everything there wanted to talk to me at one time. I literally had to get out of the building. One of the journalists that was there covering the conference was there. And he said, you look like you're going to pass out. I said, everything is on top of me. So he took me out in the yard, and I was much better once I got out there. But man, some strong energy in there.
Yep. So the higher the frequency, let's see, YouTube user asks, the higher the frequency, the cloaking, so the lower the frequency, can you see them? Can you see the form? Okay.
Yes. Yeah, the higher it's raised, the more clear it is, or whatever they want to do. If they want to, go into that spirit form or whatever, the higher that frequency goes, the higher the energy goes. And that's what controls everything they do. I don't care what ability it is. It's all controlled by the same thing. It's the energy and that frequency.
So then the lower the frequency, I'm sorry.
Saw a female do her hand like this and saw a ball of light, a tiny ball of light come out of it and hit me, boom, straight in the forehead.
Oh, yeah.
Flat
Move bounds. Yep.
It's energy. It's a play of energy.
Wow.
They'll sit there and they'll just rub their hands in a certain manner, and all of a sudden an orb will appear, and they'll play with it like it's a baseball. Like Brownie one day, I was actually, I was at a friend's house, and he had shown up over there. And we knew he was out there. We had been talking to him. We were watching him walk around the field. Next thing you know, he's throwing this orb up in the air like it's a baseball.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, he never threw it at us, but he was having a good time with it. There's a video out, and I don't know who put it out, but it was several years ago, and it was one, and an orb was following it over its shoulder.
Wow.
Like it was a balloon. Do you remember that, John? Do you remember that video?
Sure.
That was such a good video. I love that one. That was really good.
Wow.
But yeah.
I've got a picture of it. Looks like a golden square of a portal, and beautiful, vibrant.
I have one from out here that did that.
With a female that just come out of it holding a huge orb of light. And mentally I'm thinking, what is she holding? And instantly I got my baby.
Wow. See, the one we have, it looks like it's a square to a rectangular shape, and it's all gold.
Yes.
But you can't really tell what's coming out of it.
Wow.
Yeah, Daryl's right. Ron Moorhead's book on quantum is phenomenal for that. It's really good. Explains a lot of it. It all goes back down to quantum physics. It really does. Not that I'm very educated in that, but it really does go back to it.
There's scientific.
That reminds me of a picture I took in a haunted house several years ago. The power had been turned off. My girlfriend was getting ready to move. There was nothing behind that could have shown through a window that was behind me. The curtains were closed. And I see an orb move right by her television, which is off. And I took a picture. And clearly in the picture it says physics department chair. And it looked like a sign like you would see out in front of an old store. And it literally said physics department chair.
Wow.
In other words, physics. It's all physics.
Absolutely.
I've still got the picture. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen.
Wow.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like I'll see them, they'll be out in the front. Like right now I'm sitting on the porch, and then I've got, the feral cat pens that are filler over on the one side. The feral cats are ridiculous. And they go right along those bushes, and every now and then you'll see the orbs. They'll be moving around in there, and it's just hysterical. But they still go in there now that it's wintertime. They're stealing more cat food than they normally do. They just don't have as many pine cones to put in the tubs anymore as they did before. So now I don't even get pine cones put back in it. I just get empty bowls.
All those little elementals that hang around with the cryptids, they do the same thing. They cloak and they become balls of light. I've seen them do it.
Oh yeah.
And
they're all the elements, and the elements will create an orb.
Those structures is you'll see elementals in there when you get your picture. But
and a lot of people are finding the orbs with things riding inside the orbs. Right. So not all orbs, just so everybody knows, not all orbs are empty, because we've had several people that I've worked with that have contacted me and said, we've got pictures of these orbs, and it actually has little beings in it, and I've seen them. I've actually seen them doing it. Well, it's just like when you watch the dragonflies, you see little fairies on the dragonflies every now and then. They love those darn dragonflies.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Penny Van says, oh wait, I don't know if we missed the first part. I just wondered, like it was on a stroll right past me in the middle of the day. Did we miss?
Yeah,
I didn't see the other part.
I didn't see the other part of that. I'll have an orb where it'll be okay. So like here's the camera, right, and it'll go like, whoop, and then leave. They've started to do that, and I'm like, wow, that's a new thing. When they know that I'm watching them, it's just It's just amazing. Wow. Robin and Jen, do you believe that the forest people use gifts that we lost due to civilization?
Yes, absolutely. They're a little
Absolutely.
older than we are. They're not from here to begin with. And yes, they have a lot bigger brains than we have. They have those gifts that in our genetic DNA has been shut off. Yes, they sure do. That's how they can manipulate energy through frequency so well.
Yep. They go back to old school. And you know what? There's so much more knowledge in the old school than what we have. And, you know, we've been pre-programmed in our brains that 90% of the stuff that exists doesn't, because everything wants us kept stupid. And, you know, as we all know, that doesn't work. And where they're already opened up, they're in tune, they know what's going on, they know how to work things, they know how to manipulate the energy, they know how to manipulate that frequency. So they really have quite the leg up on us.
Yeah, think about when you were a child and you had an imaginary friend or an invisible friend that you talked to all the time, until your grandmother and mother beat you to the point to where you no longer had one because it was not real. Odds are it was real. It was reaching through that veil, communicating with you, but you were shut down by your family or the ones that you look up to because they didn't believe in it. So
you know,
either.
I work with a lot of people through my website that have gone their whole life and not realized they even have any gifts. And then they've always believed that there was something wrong with them or that they didn't fit in with everybody. And that's not it at all. How do you know how to adapt with your body that has abilities when you never knew you had them? And so a lot of it is just a matter of saying, hey, this is what you've got. This is how it works. You know, kind of trigger them so it opens them up a little bit. And all of a sudden they're back to being the round peg in the round hole. They're not the round peg in the square hole anymore. And there was nothing wrong with them to begin with. They just had abilities that were not ever allowed to even know existed because nobody would talk about them. You know, how many people are in the psych wards that there's really nothing wrong with?
Yes,
exactly.
They've got entities attached to them or whatever. Because I've worked on, you know, several people that have had entities attached to them, and I've gotten rid of the entities, and all of a sudden they're perfectly fine. Doesn't mean everybody's case would be like that, but there are some that are.
Yes, that's. Do elementals travel out of their time zones?
To me, the ones I've seen are more Earth-based. I mean. If not, they're more, you're talking about dimensionals that would be traveling out of their time zones. But I'm not saying that they can't. I mean, as long as they're on Earth, I would think they could do whatever they wanted to do. But I mean, the ones I see, you know, pretty much, I mean, I watch them phase in and out. They don't have a problem going in between the dimensions, but they stay more Earth related, I think. But that's just an opinion.
There's some, I think, that do travel interdimensionally because I have seen them with a light.
Yeah, they do.
And then they come out of that light and the light goes away and you've got all these looking entities.
But I don't know how far they go.
Like this, you know.
Yeah, I don't know how far they go. Like, I've never tracked them.
Yeah. Penny was saying that she was only back to the orb that was following her. I was only 14 years old, and there's no freaking way that this thing didn't know I was there. It walked past me by 20 feet, entirely acted like I wasn't even there, and it was noon. And she said, why would it, she had said previously, why would it do something? Why would it do that?
Well, they watch you depending on what sense them. You know, you have to understand first, orbs are energy based. Okay. Like everything else, they're energy based, but they can have, some of them have their own thought processing and they can think. And then other ones are used as a form of transportation for something. Others are created and the foots are playing with them. I mean, there's so many levels to all of this stuff. There's not one clear cut thing. And I hate it because people are like, well, obviously you don't know. And I'm like, no, I'm just telling you, there's more than one way on 90% of these things. Now, these orbs can think and they're smart as can be. I had one that a friend of mine and I went out in the woods that one night and we were parked in her truck. We were just sitting there talking, just waiting to see if anything was walking around the woods. And this orb, it was the size of a tractor tire and it was light blue and it darted through the woods and it came like probably about 50 feet off the side of the truck and it stopped. And then it pivoted and it turned towards the truck and that thing charged that truck.
Oh,
I mean, it just flew and it got to the door. And of course it was right at my door. Wow. And my girlfriend's screaming and I'm like, start the truck would be a good time to get the hell out of here. And she never did. She was so busy watching it. Of course it was coming at my door, not hers. And it got to the door and it just dissipated on the door. It never did anything, but it charged the door and went right into it.
They're attracted to our energy and to our light. So if you're open here and you're more enlightened, you present and carry more light. So yeah, they're going to be attracted to you. That orb could be an elemental. It could be it could be a sass. It could be a dogman.
It could be
You really
anything
don't
because
know
they
unless
all
you
morph.
ask. Or it could be a ghost. It could be a disembodied being.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is they all shapeshift. So
okay, so wait, so is it Penny? It was not an orb,
Right?
It was a massive Bigfoot.
Bigfoot.
Oh, I thought she was talking about an orb.
I thought she was too. I'm so sorry. Okay, so
It
White
was
Rock.
if it didn't, you just walk right by you.
We get them. They'll walk in the front yard, and it drives me crazy because it's like instead of completely cloaking, they'll be like partially cloaked, and so you'll see like a leg or an arm or the top of a head free floating across the yard as they're walking around. And I'm like, cover up, you know.
I was doing either Halloween or Christmas lights one year. It was Halloween lights, and I was out in the front yard in the pitch dark. And right before I plugged them up to see if they're going to work, I felt the breeze go right by my shoulder, and I do mean right by it. And I'm looking, and I'm watching a juvenile sass that's about a foot taller than me, just booking it right past me, and it went right in between the house and the garage. He just wants to see what I was doing. They're just curious. They're curious. And if they trust you, they'll come very close. And people don't. Like females have a lot more close interactions than males do.
Well, people don't seem to realize, you know, while we're out there trying to spy on them, they're out there trying to spy on us. So, you know, while we're trying to watch them, they're watching us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Lord help you, my poor husband.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
They do not like my husband. They pick on him, terrorize him every chance they get. And then you hear them sit back laughing and giggling.
Yeah. Yeah. They're protective of you. I believe, right?
They are a mess.
Wow.
So that naked man running, I tell you, he said, I just about had enough of this. And they still pick at him. But he has yet to go back outside naked.
I'll teach him.
I just stood right up, not 5 feet from him, and she's a big girl. Wow. And she just opened that mouth and growled and snarled.
That would be hysterical.
Started walking away, never taking her eyes off of him, and he was terrified because the only thing between him and her was 3 strands of barbed wire. And him standing there naked as a jaybird. I said, "That's what you get. You should have never picked that fight with me last night, buddy. She done told me in a dream she was gonna eat your head off like a bear."
Oh, they used to get mad at my ex-husband, and they'd be like, "If he bothers you, if he hurts you, go to the woods. Go to the woods." And I'm like, "I'm not going to the woods. They'll take him out in a heartbeat." That's what they wanted to do. And I was like, yeah, no, not on this girl's head. No, thank you. I don't need that karma. But they would in a heartbeat, you know. And they've come even like Glag, you know, the story of Glag that's on World Bigfoot Radio. Glag has still, since, you know, Kevin's passed away now, and he'll get hold of me and he'll warn me. He'll say, "The bad men have found you. You know, be careful. The bad men are coming." And I generally have like government cars that go by shortly thereafter. Wow. But he'll warn me, or he'll say, "They're looking for you again." And I'm like, okay.
Wow.
You know,
why won't they just
they're dumb enough?
They know they're not going to shut us up.
I know.
You're not going to shut me up.
Better people have tried. It doesn't work. I have a list of people that would love me to shut up. I'm telling you.
So Penny Van though wants to, So was Bigfoot perving on her then, she said, or what do you think when that walked by her? Or was it just like, "Oh, there you are," and just walked by?
Probably just there you are.
Okay.
I wonder if it was a female.
Oh, that could be. Yeah. Yeah. Are they known to present themselves in a dream to prepare you from an eventual meeting?
Absolutely.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I can.
And they'll get you conditioned that way.
Yep. Yeah. And Jennifer is from Tennessee because people were asking. So I wanted to ask you ladies there. I know that I asked you both about that thing in my front yard that just lays there and looks at my front door, and it looks like a big Sasquatch, and it's there every single night. Is that what it is? I mean,
you used to have a baby that would play in your planter on your porch.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
that was the cutest thing I've ever seen. I said,
you know, it wouldn't surprise me.
Looking through the window.
And I think the one that is laying in the front yard has a baby or two with it. like on various nights. But it's there like every single
The
night.
older juveniles will babysit the young while the parents are out hunting.
Oh yeah,
So there's nothing
absolutely.
to say 3 or 4 juveniles together, and one of them being much larger than the other ones.
But they don't.
Yeah,
it
they used
doesn't.
to have a huge
ahead.
playpen area for that they had built
Mhm.
with logs, and it was
Uh-huh.
like rectangular shaped, and they would put all the kids in there when they'd go out to hunt, and then they'd tell me to watch over them because I remote view, and they'd be like, watch the children, and I'm like, okay, and I knew that meant you stay away from the children, but just
Yeah.
watch them from a distance. But I could see them even from my front porch, so it wasn't too bad.
Yeah, and it just it amazes me how it's there every single night. What do I mean? Is it? Do you think? But you both think it's a Sasquatch? Is it? I just don't understand.
The ones that I have
Well-
looked at that you've shown me, that's
Yeah.
what it is.
Okay.
It's lamb.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This
I've
is
seen the
number
photos, but they,
Mhm.
they'll watch you. It's like I've got guards out here all the time.
Okay.
Sometimes it helps, sometimes it doesn't. It just depends
Yeah.
on what's going on. It didn't help me last night, but for the most part, for any physical threats, they'll run them out of here. But
All right. Well, that's good.
you know,
And then and then there's one that is at the part of my deck, like the back, I guess it would be really entrances right into the house because our house sits up. So
Right.
the other one, but you had said that the other one was an interdimensional creature that I had showed
Mhm.
you. It was it's like it looks like a bald head, and it has like ears that are like round and bald, and like big eyes. But
That sounds like an ET.
that sounds like an ET to me.
maybe.
How tall
that's
is it?
there every night. Well, it's, I mean, maybe 12 feet. Because
That's
where
too
it's
big.
at, I mean, but
Well,
it
some of
never-
the ETs get that big. I mean,
Room
Dracos
from
get
the-
14,
okay.
and you've got the tall whites, they'll hit 12.
And again too, they shapeshift, so it's
Yeah, it can be anything.
So would it be there? Would that be there? Like as far as like with the Bigfoot that are around, would it just?
Yeah.
If that was okay.
They all hang out together, even if they're not
Mhm.
interacting together, because of that energy pull from all of them. They feed off each other's energy. So, I mean, yeah, if you get one, you get everything. I hate to tell people that because they're like, I only want the Bigfoot there. And I'm like, listen, the reality is if you got one, you get everything.
If you got Bigfoot, you got woo. And my dad, the first time he ever saw a sass, he was on a flying saucer. This was back in '74. And
Yes, they do, Roger.
Yeah, they.
Sorry.
He was a big, huge black male, and they told him, I said, walk around him and touch him. He won't harm you. But you get used to him because he's going to be in your life. But the first time Daddy met a sass was on a UFO.
Yeah.
Is it the elders staying close to the house? I think, are they talking about?
I don't no, I don't necessarily know that it's the elders. I mean, you're talking about, they have two different sets of elders. They have the elders that are a higher hierarchy in the clan, but they also have their elder people that they call elders as well. And there gets to be a lot of miscommunication because people are like, oh no, they say I'm an elder, and they think that they're, this great big thing. And they're really not. It just means you're an older one.
Mhm.
So the elders, of some kind of hierarchy are not going to be out walking around your yard.
Yeah. This one I think
They're
is
going to be
about
more
maybe
well protected.
7.
It could be an older one.
Yeah.
They refer to Asia as an elder, but it's just because, or they call her grandmother, because she's the oldest one.
Gotcha.
Right.
Yeah.
But she's not an elder per se.
Yeah. So
Kind of like a double word.
Get your questions in. Did we miss any? I don't think we missed any, Grizzly, did we?
Mm-mm.
Oh, this is just, everybody's saying what a fantastic show. It is so good.
Oh, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Glad you came.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
It's always fun with you guys, so.
Thank you. Yeah, we're so glad to have you. Oh, yep. Oh, she's Catherine saying good night. So, let's see. Yeah, it's such a little elf. Oh,
the elf on the shelf.
I
Okay.
love it. And it has some chaps on.
Oh my gosh, that's so cute.
Oh, Lady Wolf had a question. Where was that? Let's see. Where was Lady Wolf's question? I want to see if you can find it. Do you want me to look for it, Grizzly?
I'm looking. I don't see it.
Okay.
So it must have been a while back. If you have a question, just go ahead and throw it down in the comments and chat, of course.
Yeah. I'm sorry. We missed it.
So.
Yeah, trying to keep them. Okay, the older one at Barb's, the granny. Oh yeah, I don't think the granny is the one, right? Robin, I don't think it's the granny that's laying out in front.
No, I don't think so either. No.
Wait till you see it do a spider walk.
Oh yeah.
Oh, those are the best. Those are so much fun. But they do the spider walk with their butt up in the air, but then they also do the belly crawl. And then when they do the belly crawl, they're exactly like Scooby-Doo. You know, like when he gets up on his fingers and he's going ding, 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 ding.
Exactly.
I have yet to be able to watch them do the belly crawl and not think of that ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
Scooby-Doo. I tell you that one that did it the other night, I was not anticipating that one. Like, I didn't know he was out there. I knew the mom was off to the side on the other side of the fence because I saw her standing there. She was big. And I'd already let the dog out. So there wasn't anything I could do. And then the dog ran towards the middle of the yard. And I was like, what is going on? And all of a sudden I saw this black thing dart across doing the belly crawl. And I was like, holy heck. I thought for sure she'd hurt the dog, but she didn't. She left him alone.
Wow.
But they know my dogs. I mean,
alive, you know, he was firmly convinced that they really weren't here, even though he'd seen several. And I'm just like, seriously, Dad, I tell you what we'll do tonight. After it gets dark, we'll take the four-wheelers, we'll go sit in the middle of the field in the neighbor's farm, and we'll sit there until they come up, because they will come up with us over there. Oh, whatever, Sissy. All right. So we go over there and we sit and we park our four-wheelers nose to nose. And I just kick my feet up and lean back on mine like this. And he's sitting there looking at me smoking a cigarette. And all of a sudden it sounds like a herd of wild Indians coming running down that ridge. And they're screaming and they're hooping and hollering. I mean, literally it sounded like a war party. Wow. Yeah. There was a clump of trees about 30 feet behind me. Just a huge big old clump of trees. But in the center of it was big rocks. It was probably 20, 25 feet in diameter. They all piled in there. And I mean, it sounded like a herd of elephants running. And then they started going, hoo, 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 hoo. And Daddy looked at me, he said, that's the biggest effing owl I think I've ever heard in my life. I said, he said, I had enough, Sissy. And he cranked his four-wheeler up and left me sitting there.
Wow.
About 15 of them behind me. And I'm just dying laughing. From then on, he stopped arguing with me over what was here and what wasn't.
Yeah.
He'd had enough of that.
I tell you what, we had some come in. There was time for them to, well, I was putting food out at the time, and it was late. And they didn't get fed when I normally fed them. And I don't tell anybody to do it, but I didn't know any better at the time. And I went out there to take them food, and I hollered like I normally do when I go take food out there, because I would holler to them every day, and they would come in when they would hear me. And they came through those woods, and they were like a freaking freight train. I mean, all you could hear was, I mean, it was like, hey, all right, everybody's going to back up or I'm dropping the food.
Yeah. No food.
Well, they went after Daddy just like they did poor Bob. I was just one night he came up to visit on his four-wheeler, pulled up to the back porch, and I'm standing there with a bucket of cornbread, and I looked at him and I said, give me a minute. I was fixing to take this up to the trees. And he just kept right on talking like I hadn't said anything, so I set the bucket down. About a minute went by, and a walnut sailed out from the woods, and it's a good 75-yard toss, and slammed into my house about a foot above his head and just shattered. And he got quiet, and he looked at me and grinned and laughed, and he kept right on talking. About another minute went by, and another walnut landed about 6 inches lower, same spot. He said, I think it's about time for me to go home. I said, yeah, I think it's about time for me to go to tree.
Eric Thompson said, do you think that a dogman would kill a human?
Yes. But in all fairness, it's not doing it because it's a dogman. Just kind of want to clarify that. Any of these cryptids are capable of killing one of us. Okay? We are also more than happy to kill one of them, which is pathetic. It makes me sick. We kill what we don't understand. Rather than find out what they are, learn about them, see what can be done, we want to kill it. And so it's not because it's a dogman that it would kill a human. It's just depending on the situation, depending on what's going on, the personality of that dogman opposed to the human, and what our people are doing would determine that. So it's not just because it's a dogman, but are they able to? Yes.
And they instantly know our intent. They can read our thoughts. They know why They know if
they're highly telepathic
or not. They know why you're there and what would happen if you were attacked. So they know. And that goes for the Bigfoots and the dogmen. Yeah,
absolutely. Any of the cryptids. And Russell wanted to know if they have teeth issues. They absolutely do.
Yes.
There is no dentist out there. And there is a lot of them that have actually, like I've done a lot of healing work on a lot of them that have abscesses, but some have actually died because of the infection as gums sepsis. So it is a big problem.
Just like with
Okay.
humans, if we're not able to take care of our teeth, we end up with abscesses in our mouth, bacteria grows in our mouth. They have the same problem because they're not cooking their food most of the time. They're eating it raw.
Yeah,
Or
I
it's
mean, they will. Some of them will
buried
eat
and
it
they
cooked,
back
but
up.
yeah, primarily they don't.
Yes, they do.
If you're out hiking, do they prefer you turn off your phone and your electronics off?
Yeah, they
Yeah.
actually they do. The thing is they pick up the frequency off those phones anyway, so you're not going to be able to hide that you have it. I don't care what you do.
Yeah.
Everything has an energy signature. It doesn't matter if it's a rock, if it's a phone, or whatever it is, or a weapon of any kind. They know what you have. Okay.
Right.
If you brought a knife with you, they know you have that knife. You're better off when you go out in the woods to announce to them, okay, I'm out here. I did bring a weapon. This is what I have. It's not for you. It's to protect myself from other animals out in the woods. You know what I mean? Or whatever the purpose of it is. But know that whatever you say, it better match your intent in your heart, because if it doesn't, you got big issues.
Right.
Because they are going to double check it to make sure you're being honest.
The very next time I went into the woods after I ran into that Dogman at the pond, I was packing my pistol. And 250 feet, 250 yards into the woods, I instantly get, why? You don't need that.
Oh.
Yep.
I knew exactly what they talking about. The pistol hanging on my hip. And I just sent a picture of the Dogman. You don't need that. And they were angry. So I turned around, went back to the house, with a pistol up, and came back to the woods. I didn't have any problems.
So Lady Wolf had said, Barb, was Jen and Robin saying if you dream of a Bigfoot, that means you'll see one?
No, that's not what I.
No, because it is a way that they introduce themselves.
They will. They will. But just because, like, let's say you dream on your own of one, don't expect that you're going to see one the next day or something. If there's one that has picked you up on your radar and wants to know you and make contact, then of course you're going to get them in dream state. But I mean, a lot of people dream of them just because they're curious about them. It doesn't mean they're going to see them, but they do introduce themselves that way. Jen's right.
Okay. Robin, when are you coming to Oklahoma and going to Brown Springs? Gary,
you know what, Gary, I don't know. I want to get out to Oklahoma. I have a really good friend that has a place in Oklahoma, and I would dearly love to get out there. It's one of the few places I have not been. And I do want to go to Brown Springs. I absolutely do. So I wish I knew. I don't have an answer to that one. I know that I will be in Nebraska in the end of April for the Nebraska Bigfoot Conference in Grand Island. And I may try to sneak over to Colorado while I'm there, but we'll see.
Nice. So, anybody else have any more questions? This has just been just great. It's always fascinating talking to you two, and we always have such a good time too.
We do.
Yeah, we do.
Grizzly, do you have anything else?
Good. What?
Daryl didn't want to know, is Sass or Bigfoot or smarter?
Sass and Bigfoot wanting the same thing, but they are
they're the same thing.
They're tremendously smarter than humans. Especially abilities.
We are so far down the totem pole. It's not even funny.
Those people.
If ignorance was bliss, we'd be the winner.
Yeah.
Robin or Jen, are you coming to Michigan again?
Yes, I have family in Michigan. I was thinking of moving back there. I'm not going to, but I will definitely be back to Michigan because I have family and children and grandchildren there. So at some point in time, I always end up back there during the year.
And this will be this will be our last question. Russell wants to know if you remove a stick structure, will they rebuild it?
Not always. They get pissed.
They get really pissed.
You don't mess with the structures. I tell everybody that. And the other thing you have to watch with the structures are what they call woo bombs, because they are set up almost like a trap. And if you move one stick the wrong way, they know you did it. And I actually had that happen in Pennsylvania, and like an alarm went off, and it was definitely an interesting experience. But you don't mess with their structures, people. Okay, and enjoy them. Look at them; they're beautiful.
To ever touch them,
don't mess with them.
Take saplings and lay them 3 feet apart, 2.5 feet apart, long ways, and make like little designs. And I know what that is. It's a raceway for the little ones to play. Shoot them up safe trees or into safe zones. Don't bother those saplings either.
Just leave their things alone. Be respectful.
They're toys.
Look at it this way. When you walk outside your front door, you're now in their world. Okay. You don't like it when they show up in your house. I mean, Jen and I are used to it, but they go in and out of the house. And when they go in and out of the house, You know, they're now in your territory and you're like, please don't do this and please don't do that. When you walk out your door, you're now in their world. Be respectful of it.
Yeah.
If you want that. And the other thing is too, is you want a positive encounter, because if it's positive, it'll carry on with you for the rest of your life and it'll be word of mouth to the other ones. If you do the negative encounter, you're done. You're dead in the water and you're going to have nothing but bad stuff happening to you for the rest of your experiences with them.
Okay,
So make it a positive one. And the only way it's going to be positive is with respect.
Always.
You can't expect them to be respectful of us if we're not going to be respectful of them. It's a two-way street.
That's exactly right. And I have forever shown my respect, love and respect.
Have either of you been to Land Between the Lakes? I know I said that was going to be that, but have you been to Land Between the Lakes either?
I have not. I actually have not.
Up there and came home, but that was going up there on a mission with my father. Trail riding mission, and we got turned around because one of our horses didn't have a Coggins test, so I had to go back home. But he spent the whole weekend up there and didn't see a thing riding horses. That was back
it just depends on what's going on, I think, at that time, and what groups are active in there, and you know, what if they feel you're in a threatening situation or where you're at up there. But you know, I'm just one of these people there. It's not, I mean, I think there's a healthy amount of fear for anybody. If they're going to go to LBL, you should, you know, if you have half a brain, you should have a healthy amount of fear. But the thing is, why push these buttons? There are so many beautiful places that we can go to interact with them on a friendly, decent place and have a positive situation. The problem is with Land Between the Lakes is we go there hoping for anything. We don't care if it's good, bad, or indifferent. Then we cause the issue because we're now in their territory. They fight back because we're there in their territory. And then the military comes in to gun them down when we're the ones that went there to begin with to piss them off. It's a bad situation. I just cannot make any sense of that. Like, why would you go just to be irritating?
Right. Yeah, that seems like a really bad and dangerous idea. Is there anything that so Rebecca says, so putting Gorilla Tape all over their trees would be considered a negative encounter. Is there any way to make a peace offering?
I'd be bringing a lot of treats.
You're that
because they're not going to believe you for a while. They are not going to believe you. They're going to think that you're a lying little monkey because they are not.
I keep thinking he's going to get on one show one night and say, "I found my Gorilla Tape." One of my cameras.
It'll show up again. It'll show up. Well, you know, they'll take things and they bring it back later. They went one time and my ex-husband had all these tools in the garage and he went out the next day and there was a bunch of them gone. And he was like having a fit and somebody sold his tools. I'm like, nobody was there. I mean, we have like a bazillion dogs. If anybody got out in the garage, you know, people in Guam would hear those dogs bark and there's no way we wouldn't have known it. And he's like, well, somebody stole my tools. I said, I don't know what to tell you. A year later, all these tools came back. They were on my porch, rusted. All rusted and shoved between the posts on the deck.
Wow.
Every bit of them. Every single one of them came back.
Garage, which is an open face garage, and Bobby has a mechanic's set, a tool set. You know, it's a really big toolbox. It's really tall and wide. And all the lid's shut on it. They crawled up on top of that thing and pulled it over one night.
Wow.
And I went to the tree and chewed them out. I said, "Never ever do that again. You almost hit my motorcycle."
Oh my gosh! Yeah.
Well, they missed my Harley by inches.
I hate to cut everybody off, but Grizzly is another show coming up. I'm sorry. Yeah, so we don't want to.
It's been fantastic.
Really, thank you, ladies, so much. Oh my gosh!
Thank you for having us.
Enjoyed it.
Thank you. It's always
Jen, it's always
welcome.
fun with you, sweetheart.
We will
you
definitely
too,
have you again in the new
year.
year. We love you guys too. Thank you so much, and good night, everybody. Thanks for joining.
Bye. Take care. Bye-bye.